everyone, and welcome back to the Leadership Lifeboat. It's a day later than we normally do this, but that's all right. My name's Matt McCarty, and I'm a certified ICF leadership and communications coach, and I'm the host of the Leadership Lifeboat. So last week we talked about self-awareness, and we talked about 5 tools that you can use to improve your self-awareness. Meditation, journaling, personality assessments, 360, working with a friend, and then also hiring a professional coach to help you with self-assessment. And so today, I was in a meeting. I was actually in a leadership inclusivity meeting where we're talking about diversity and some other leadership topics. And the subject of empathy came up. And empathy is one of those things that, again, it's critical to effective leadership. And yet it's kind of elusive. It's kind of hard for a lot of people, I think, to put their finger on maybe not just what empathy is, but how empathetic they are. I mean, we all like to think we're empathetic. But then also for some people, the word empathy even conjures up some kind of, touchy-feely, and it's not something that they believe they have to pay attention to. So I'd like to spend just a few minutes tonight talking about empathy, what it is, what it isn't, and why it's important for leadership, and then maybe talk about a couple of things that we can do to kind of level set our empathy and to make sure that we have an appropriate level of empathy as we embark on our leadership journey. So the first thing I want to talk about is kind of the difference between empathy and sympathy, because a lot of people, when they hear the word empathy, I think they get a little bit confused and they think about sympathy. And there's a big difference, because sympathy means I feel bad for somebody. If I see someone that's going through a tough time, or I see someone that's struggling, I feel bad for them. But there's a separation, right? I'm glad I'm not them. That's sympathy. Empathy is really where I understand what it must feel like for them to be going through whatever they're going through. And it's much more just being in touch with what that other person feels, or what that other person might be feeling. And so it manifests itself in the ability to listen, in the ability to really connect with your teammates, with other people. And one of the things that I think for a lot of people, some people are, I believe, at least adults, let's talk adults, some are naturally more empathetic, because I think you learn empathy throughout your life, especially as a child. Children learn empathy. And some adults struggle with empathy, frankly. They're unsure of how to connect with other people. They're unsure of, and so what that does, unfortunately, is it kind of comes out in that we respond to people in maybe what we would call inappropriate ways. So, for example, if someone's going through a tough time, you feel like you've got to give them some advice. You feel like you've got to say, hey, cheer up, come on, get over it, stiff upper lip and all that kind of stuff. And that really can be counterproductive, especially in a leadership setting. And so what do? I mean, if we sense that we are not as empathetic as we would like to be, how do we know, and what can we do about it? So I think the first thing that I like to talk about, one of the ways that we can kind of improve our empathy, or at least work on our empathy. And it's a little bit of a paradox. It's a little bit counterintuitive, because we've got to get out of our own head, right? We've got to get past what our own brain and our own little monkey mind is saying. And really, a great way to do that is through mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation is a great tool for really kind of level setting where we are with our own thoughts. And it kind of sets the stage. It gives us that foundation, if you will, for getting out of our own head, getting out of our own way, so that we can really connect with others. And there's a great book, and I'll put the link to it. It's called How to Train a Wild Elephant. And it leads you through a bunch of different mindfulness practices. Because when we say mindfulness meditation, of course, you get the image of you're sitting on a cushion somewhere in a chair and you're meditating on mindfulness. But really, you can practice mindfulness anywhere. You can practice mindfulness brushing your teeth. You can practice mindfulness doing the dishes. It's just a matter of really paying attention to what's right in front of you, what's going on at the present moment. And if we can do that, again, that builds a foundation for that emotional intelligence, that empathy. Another tool that we can use, or another thing that at least the experts in all the articles that I've written talk about in terms of building empathy, is building your sense of curiosity. And I know that when I say that, it's like, okay, so how do you do that? How do you expand your sense of curiosity? If you're not naturally curious, what can you do? Well, one of the things that I have been successful with for myself, that's worked for me, is, and again, it gets back to mindfulness, I try to make sure that when I ask a question, I ask what's called an open-ended question. And that means it's a question that can't be answered yes or no. So an open-ended question would start with the words how, or when, or where, or who, right? They don't start with the words do or does. So if you say, do you feel okay about this? The answers are either going to be yes or no. Whereas if you ask, so how do you feel about this? Now you're going to get an answer that you'll be able to do something with. You will be able to process, right? And if you really pay attention and you really listen, then that will help you develop your empathy muscle. Now, having said all that, I can tell you it's not easy and it's not quick. It's simple. But if you're out of the habit of really approaching other people in other situations with empathy, it can be challenging. So the biggest thing that I would say is you have to have a little bit of self-compassion, a little bit of self-empathy maybe. I don't know if that's even a thing. But you have to be patient with yourself and keep trying and keep working at it. In another session, we'll talk about anchors and how you can use what we call anchors to remind yourself to do some of the things that you want to do, right? So the thing to keep in mind for tonight, though, for tonight's discussion, I guess, is get out of your own head, get out of your own way. And you can do that by being mindful of when you're getting in your own way. And then also cultivate your sense of curiosity by asking questions and asking open-ended questions. And you'll be surprised at how people respond to that and what you can learn. And it can actually change your outlook. So I hope that's good information for you. Again, if I invite you to join the Leadership Lifeboat, it's a Facebook group, And I would like to encourage you to join, share your ideas, share your thoughts. I'm looking to build this into a community. So the more participation that we can get, the better. My name's Matt McCarty, and that's all for tonight. I will see you all next week.